Thank you and welcome to another edition of the Blacks in Technology Security Plus video podcast series. This is episode number 3 of the Security Plus certification series. Again, my name is Greg Greenlee, and we are using the Security Plus Get Certified, Get Ahead book by Daryl Gibson. This is a book that I'm taking information from. If you are following, if you want to follow along and purchase this book, you can get it on Amazon. Get Certified, Get Ahead. I think where we left off last time, we were talking about the 3 factors of authentication, which is something you know, something you have, and something that you are. We were talking about passwords and going over some of the criteria for having an effective password in your environment. I think we left off at password history, maybe. But I'm going if we went over this already, this will just be a review, and you can just follow along. We're talking about password history. Passwords should not be reused. You should force users to change their password. Windows definitely has a component that you can configure within group policy that allows you to determine the number of passwords that it remembers. And it won't allow you to use any of those previously used passwords. So if you set the setting to, say, 10 passwords, so the 10 previous passwords, you can't use any of those 10. Account lockout policies. There's policies that prevent users from guessing your passwords. That's what basically account lockout policies are. And you can use account lockout thresholds or lockout duration for in your account lockout policy. Account lockout threshold is how many times am I allowed to enter a password before it actually locks the account out. You can also set that within group policy. So you can set it to 3 passwords, 3 passwords incorrectly, and then it locks out your account. Account lockout duration. That's usually after you lock your account out. So after you lock your account out, after entering your password in so many times, then there's a time interval that you have to wait before you can retry your password again. A lot of times people make this between 10 and 15 minutes. So if you lock your account out, you have to wait 10 or 15 minutes. Your account is then become unlocked, and then you can try entering your password again. Change defaults. If you have purchased a device that has a default password enabled, change that default password, because that just allows anybody can Google a device to see what their default password is, and then they can gain access to whatever data, or if it's their network, they can gain access to it. A lot of wireless routers, Linksys Wireless, Netgear, D-Link, they come with the default password, and that's how they configure it at the factory. Comes with the default password. You enter the default password, you can get into the configuration settings. You can easily Google whatever device it is, and you can find out the default password. So change that. As soon as you get it, change it. Previous logon notification. That's a pretty good thing to have. If what it basically does, what the previous logon notification is say for instance you type or you log into your account, it'll actually say the last time that you logged into that account. It'll be a small pop-up on the screen. It'll say you logged into this account last at such and such and such. What's good about that is if you happen to log in your account and it says you logged into your account 20 minutes ago, and you're like, hey, I didn't log in 20 minutes ago, what happened? Then you know that your password, your account has been compromised, and that you need to change your password. We move on to one of the other factors of the 3 factors of authentication, something you have. This can be in the form of a smart card or a key fob. Smart cards are small credit card size cards that have embedded certificates used for authentication. A key fob is an electronic device about the size of a remote control key for a car that has an LED display that displays a number that's synced with the server. This certificate that's embedded in the smart card holds a user's private key, and then it's matched with the user's public key. And we'll talk about public and private keys later on in our sessions. Key fobs are token-based authentications. RSA uses a secure ID, and I've actually used these before, that shows a number every 60 seconds. There's an LED display that actually shows a number every 60 seconds, and it's synced with the server. And that's an example of a one-time password or a one-time PIN. That number you have to use, and a lot of times you have to use that number along with a password, a username and password. So what you do is, that number changes, you're entering your username, you're entering your password, and you're entering that number that's displayed on the LED. And then only then can you gain access. Once that number is synced with the server, which it should, they change at the same time, then you'll be able to have access to that resource. We're going to the third factor of authentication, which is something you are. And that comes in the form of biometrics. Biometrics can be a fingerprint or hand reader. It can be a retinal scanner. And it can be signature geometry, which is handwriting analysis. Then we get into multi-factor authentication. And that's basically using more than one factor of authentication. We've already kind of went over that with the 3 factors of authentication, because that's multi-factor authentication. So we already know that, PINs, usernames, and passwords, key fobs, smart cards, biometrics, those are all examples of multi-factor authentication. Book goes on to talk about identity proofing versus authentication. What's the difference between identity proofing versus authentication? Well, identity proofing is actually proof of who you are. So, an example of that is, if you wanted to, say, get a driver's license, excuse me, a lot of the times you have to show a birth certificate and a social security number. That shows and that proves who you actually are. Authentication is taking a set of credentials that are known and providing those credentials at the right time to prove that, to authenticate against whatever system you're trying to gain access to. So that's basically the difference between authentication and identity proofing. Now, identity proofing can be used for verification. For instance, if you're on your banking site, a lot of times they like to use multi-factor authentication to prove who you are. And how they do this is, enter in a username and password. Okay? After you enter in a username and password, what they like to do is, they like to provide an area where you enter in, or you can choose a question that only you know the answer to. So it might say, what's your mother's last name? Or even something more obscure would be, what is the first school you ever went to? And then only you would know that information. So that's an example of identity proofing. It actually proves who you are, so you can authenticate to the system. Password reset systems. Those are actually used as well in email, online emails, anything that you have to gain access to. The way password reset systems work is that if you forget your password, you can click, I forgot my password, and then it'll email you your password. What's great about that is, only you should have access to your email, so once they email you your password, then of course it resets it and you can gain access to whatever resource you needed access to. That's all I have for right now. Next time we're going to talk about Kerberos, LDAP, mutual authentication, single sign-on, a lot of security plus goodness out there. See you next time. Thank you for watching.